Hello, I am Joe King from the Fray, and you're listening to Main Pod Girl.
Hell yeah. Hey, welcome to Main Pod Girl, a podcast made by Popheads for Popheads. Every episode will be diving into all kinds of pop culture topics with some of our favorite artists and music commentators. I'm your host, AJ Marks, and I'm so excited to introduce today's special guest, the lead singer of a multi-platinum selling band that rose to prominence in the early 2000s, earning 4 Grammy nominations, 3 Billboard Top 10 hits, and a Diamond certified single that became a defining anthem through its association with Grey's Anatomy. This band's 2005 debut album, How to Save a Life, was certified 4 times platinum in the US and still remains one of the best-selling digital debuts of all time. It's Joe King from the Fray.
Hello, AJ. Thank you for having me, and quite the introduction. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean you deserved it. You earned it all.
You know what though? It takes so many incredible people. I mean, we were just talking like you've been in a band, so you understand this. Like, it takes so many people for this to work. Like, to do this art, to do an artist career. Like the people early on, I remember like how many friends, in Denver that would just come alongside of us, or like help with posters, or like help with our merch table.
Yep.
Or
I had my mom and sisters as the street team.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so over the years, I've just seen incredible people, along the way that have just helped us and believed in us. And that's true to today, like even touring this year, like our crew, our team, like friends that just support us. Like, it takes people to do things in life, and it's rare when you can do anything great alone. So I'm just, after you just saying that introduction, it just made me think of all the people that made that possible. All of those accolades that you just said is like, there's hundreds of people behind that helped us.
And there are millions of people who are on the receiving end of loving the music and going to the tours. And speaking of that, actually, speaking of the fan side, let's start off with what we're listening to. Joe, do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Give you a second to.
Sure.
Usually artists are like, wait, hold on, I need to check my Spotify. All right, what am I listening to? I will say I've been loving the new song "Love's a Gun" by Daniel Seavey. He was in that boy band Why Don't We, and I found his solo career independently of that, but he's got this really cool lane for him where he's like kind of pop rock, but like not really. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's always good. It's always hitting. He just has no misses, and I'm so excited for this new record. And secondly, Hell on Me by Casey Musgraves might be one of my favorite songs of hers of all time. Like, that's such a good song. And like, while I don't know if Middle of Nowhere is going to stand up with, Golden Hour or Deeper Well, because those are two like holy albums for me, I will say Hell on Me definitely is like in my top 10 Casey Musgraves songs.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so my two, I'll give you two. There's a new artist, and this is from a small town in Canada. His name's Matt Bazinet. I found him, as probably we all do, on TikTok. He just has this. He has the thing. When you hear him sing, and he's an incredible songwriter, you're just captivate. You're like in it, and it's immediate. His voice, his songs, his lyrics. He just writes true stories, and you can feel that, and there's nothing like staged, or like he's not trying to copy. It's just his thing. And so I've been loving it. He has a song called South of the Suburbs.
I just added that to my New Music Friday playlist.
It's an incredible song, and now like we've become great friends.
Oh, love that.
And I'm like coming around him. Like, I've always wanted to help younger artists, and we've just like bonded. And he's writing for his first album right now and starting to play a bunch of shows. And so like seeing his dream come alive and is so rewarding to me, to like help champion him, because he's great and because he deserves it. But so Matt Bazinet, South of the Suburbs. check that out. And then I'm so curious, I'm sure you are, and probably a lot of people are, about this Temper City band. That song Self Aware, I think they only have
Hmm.
one song out. And, it's in my feed. And I'm like, what is this? I want to know more about this band. I
That's
think,
it's charting on the Hot 100 right now, right?
yeah, I think
Which is
so.
such a t- like to have nine figures on streaming with
Yeah,
one song out is crazy.
it's
It's like
amazing. Yeah,
unprecedented.
yeah, for sure. So I'm curious to see how that story develops. And just, I'm a fan of any band too, really.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's so hard to be in a band, as you know, and to stay as a band,
Yeah.
and to do
Yeah.
it in this modern era. Like, the world needs more bands. So I'm a
Yeah, and we're
fan.
getting quite a few. There's Dexter and the Moon Rocks. There's
Hmm.
I think Weezer just had a song charting recently. Like
Yeah.
there I, we're getting the bands back actually. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today is getting the band back together. But when I was looking at all my questions that I had, cuz I had many things I wanted to ask you. Really I just like was compelled to put them in chronological order.
Okay.
I usually don't do that, but I just kind of felt like let's make a timeline of the Fray, right?
Okay.
With my questions here. So let's start at the beginning. So despite me being a big fan of your records since childhood, I only in preparation for this episode learned that the band originally started out from worship. So call me a fake fan because I did not know that until recently. But how do you feel like growing up in the church influenced your sound not only in the early records but in this most recent record?
Okay, so that's a great question, and there's a lot to that question. Naturally, like, I think one of the probably biggest misconceptions is that we were a Christian band, and we actually were never a Christian band. Although, yes, we were raised in the church. My dad was a pastor. I grew up learning how to play church songs, and there's some incredible music, spiritual music, old hymns that to this day I go back to and love. And I absolutely believe they certainly influenced and formed how I write music and how I tell story. But as a band, when we started it, it was very, very clear to us that we didn't want to write music that had a definitive answer and pointing to God, because that's not what we were about. We were about, let's tell the truth. Let's share like real stories here and our real questions. And so, as much as, yes, the fact that we did come from the church is true, we were pretty clear that the band was not going to play in the church, and that anyone could come to our shows. That just means you have to come to the bar, or come to the
Yeah.
come to the venue downtown, or come to wherever. So we just, so that was true from the get-go. But like I said, like, you know the church, it also informed a lot of songs,
Hmm.
because it brought a lot of questions out for us. I mean, I think we got to an age, and I remember getting to the age where you start to question what maybe the given knowledge, your given knowledge, what you were taught. And some of it, I didn't, it didn't resonate, and I didn't align with, and I needed to figure it out for myself. And a lot of that was in the first album.
Interesting. So it introduced this healthy maybe skepticism that shaped the lyrics of the first album.
Yeah, I mean, I I don't know it. Like, I grew up, the world was black and white,
Hmm.
in my household. And I started to see a lot of gray. I had friends who had different experiences and grew up in a different perspective. And I could understand, that the way they saw the world was different. And I was curious why they saw it different. And instead of like judging them, I wanted to understand that perspective. And then once I opened myself up to other ways and other ideas, I just saw more color. It just
Yeah.
wasn't as like clear and definitive. So I know that we all want it to be definitive. Of course, if you believe in something, you don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think as I've experienced more in my life and met more people, I think I know less than I used to think I knew
Yeah.
when I was maybe in high school.
I think people listening to this are really going to resonate with that. Did you grow up with a lot of religious music that maybe had some sort of musical influence, or do you think that you were pulling from?
Good question. Yeah. So, like, all that was in my house was religious music.
Yeah.
So, I think maybe the common theme with pastors' kids is that we rebel. I didn't want to listen to just religious, Christian music. So I hid all of the music that I was listening to, and they had no idea that I had NWA mixtapes
Right.
and I had, the Chronic record in my Walkman, and I had, early like West Coast hip hop and rap was
Mm.
like what I was listening to outside the house or in
Mm.
my, in my bedroom with my headphones on. So my parents didn't know. Um, and then I have older siblings, and they were listening to like cool shit. Like my sister was listening to bands that she exposed me to Pearl Jam and Nirvana, and like all these 90s era bands that then made me want to be in a band and then made me want to pick up a guitar, and then I did, and I started playing. So it was music that was like culturally relevant at the time that inspired me to want to be in a band. And I think the Christian music maybe like was like foundational in some ways,
Mm.
even for pop writing. I think like because song in church, for instance, has like the melody has to be like recognizable, or like
Yeah.
something that the congregation could sing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's played out in
I
my
mean,
writing.
the Fray definitely has plenty of songs that everyone can sing back. So
I'm proud to say that our shows, like, the fans are singing louder than our PA system,
yeah.
and that's the greatest compliment. Like, after a show, my front of house engineer will be like, I brought it up as high as the volume could go, and but they're louder.
I will say that actually, like, so many of your songs, when I am listening to them on my own, I am singing along the whole time. So it's more karaoke for me, kind of, because I can't help it. It feels so good to sing. Also, it's like it's in my range too, which I know that, like, some,
Are
like,
you a baritone?
I listen to so many, yes, I listen
Yeah.
to so many female artists that it's like I can only harmonize with them, like do the lower third or whatever. But it's
Right.
nice, to sing along to some Fray songs. Have yet to do it at actual karaoke though. That would be great.
Ooh,
Um,
what would your karaoke phrase song be? What would your
ooh, maybe Never Say Never. Wait, I'm trying to
ooh?
think. Yeah, maybe Over My Head. So how do you feel then? Because I was looking back on reviews
Mm.
of your early albums. Some critics labeled the band as emo in the early days. Like, how do you feel about that, or how did you feel about that at the time?
Oh, okay. By the way, never listen to anyone. Like, if you're a young artist, or don't listen to what people have to say about what you should do or what you shouldn't do, or it's not good or it is good. Don't believe any of it. Just like follow what you know is true for you,
Yeah.
and discover your voice and your own voice. And people are so quick to like assign a label or assign a judgment to something, and let's give some time for artists to like develop, right? Or like
Yeah.
time for an artist to like find their voice.
We do that even
um
less now, unfortunately.
exactly. I mean, that doesn't happen in today's like era, right? Like,
Yeah.
giving time, like allowing an artist to grow. But yeah, I remember getting those reviews. I remember our first like review in a local newspaper in Denver. They eviscerated our first album. And my sister actually saved the review, and I found it recently at her house. She gave it to me and I reread it and was so blown away by it, because it was like it had nothing to do with the music. It was like you could tell he just didn't like us as a band. Like you could just tell he wanted something else. Had nothing to do with the music. It was like the band doesn't deserve a record deal. Like these songs aren't lived in. And I was just like, how does someone say that? Like these songs aren't lived in? Like
I
that's such an odd critique, right?
Especially
And
for
so
a
it,
debut album, because usually that's when you have the most lived in songs. You have the songs that have been around for a while because you're working up to that debut major label.
yeah, I didn't I like it was so shocking to me,
Right.
that I think from that point, and of course it was discouraging, because new artists, you just want like support or hope, you're just pursuing your dream. And I think after that I just developed like a thicker skin of
Yeah.
just not caring what people say or assign,
Mhm.
and time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, there was this conversation that I was unaware of at the time, but like I said, I was reading these early reviews, and I guess especially around the second album, people wanted you to branch out from that signature sound, but the numbers don't lie. Like that sound was resonating with people, right? And you hear that every night when you're on tour now, decades later. But at the time, did you feel that pressure to experiment more sonically during your early success, or were you happy sticking to your guns?
No, we just, honestly, we're just like, just write what's true. Just
Mm,
write this story. And we had a good relationship with our label at the time too, because they just allowed us to do our thing.
yeah.
And in fact, they didn't understand our thing. And that's probably pretty common. Even on the second album, I
Right.
remember like we worked really hard on these songs, and again they were some questions that we were wrestling with, more so about like about God directly. I mean, you found me,
Mm,
was one. And I remember like sending it in, and the label got back to us, and they're like, we just don't hear it, like we just we don't think there's a single. And so I flew to New York, and I remember like meeting with the heads of the label, and I was just like, I don't know if it's a hit or if any of these are hits. I just know that they're important to us, and we're not trying to chase a trend, because at the time things that were happening were not that type of sound. I mean, it was like Black Eyed Peas era, and in fact we lost like 3 Grammys to them, and that's okay. But like, um,
I am like the world's biggest Black Eyed Peas fan, so
well, they're great.
yeah.
Um, Losing to My Humps was a little tough. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, but no, I just remember meeting up with them. I said like, I don't know if it's a hit. I don't know but it's important, and let us like release this because it's what we want to say.
And then skipping ahead, right? There was a hiatus, spoiler alert, for like 10-ish years. What were the factors that led to the hiatus, and how do you feel that the time away helped the band achieve some sort of like creative reset?
Mm. The factors, I think, probably like any band, honestly. If you watch most documentaries on bands or
Yeah.
read books about bands, it's very difficult for a band to stay a band. And bands either break up, change, or evolve. And we did all three of those. And you get to a point where each of you want different things, or if one of you doesn't want it anymore, and in our case, that was true, that Isaac and I had started this thing, and Dave and Ben came into it, and we just really bonded and had incredible chemistry for you know what was probably 8 years. um, and you can't blame someone for falling out of love with it.
Yeah.
And you can't like force someone to love what you do, or even love like in a relationship. It's like you can't like force them to love you or to love like your life.
Bands
um,
are kind of like relationships. They don't
yeah,
all like, they don't always last, but it's also interesting, right? Like I know from my time being in a band, like we all had very different things to say and very different like we were listening to very different music as well.
yeah,
And there is like a run of time where it's like you can all have the same creative vision and like be like gung ho about that. But I think also what I've noticed too is like, with solo artists, like you can change out your producers if you want to, and it's still the same project. You can swap out a room of songwriters, you can change your team, but it's like a band, it's like you're kind of, if you're gonna stay in a certain lineup or whatnot, it's like you're kind of tasked to be like, we all have to be on the same page for a long time. So it's why I've seen a lot of bands that I've talked to as well, like take a good healthy amount of time away and come back. And going back to the original question, do you feel like that had some sort of creative reset where there was just a different energy from having time away?
well, I certainly think that for me the time away was important because I was able to come to peace with what was,
Mm.
and what was I was grateful for. Like still is, I hold with such like humility and pride that like what we did,
Mm.
together. The beginning of any story is sacred. And those first 8 years, 10 years were sacred, and the chemistry was beautiful, and we were experiencing our dream. And then you change in life. And I think in that time away, I to bring it to the simplest place, I think I started to realize like what's up to me in life and what's not up to me. And once I could frame it that way,
Mm.
I even looked at the band in that way of like, well, what's up to me? Do I love this? Do we have something more to say? Do we believe in this? And I couldn't stop asking myself those questions. And then the what's up to me was, okay, I'm gonna talk to the guys, and I'm gonna start writing, and let's play a couple shows and see how this
Yeah.
feels.
I did have some questions about that
Yeah.
because this album has like beautifully well put lyrics. Like Let Me Go First, I think of specifically, that cuts really deep. After all this time, like, did you feel like you had something specific to say prior to the reformation, or was it more about bringing everyone back together first and then figuring out what you had to say from there moving forward?
That's an interesting question. I think it came more so from a place of I love this,
Mm.
and I love this band, and I think we can do this.
Yeah.
I didn't know how we were going to do this, or if the other guys would want to do it, but it wasn't necessarily I have all these things I want to say, and I'm going to tell the guys like, here's all the things, here are all the songs, like,
Yeah, yeah,
like I needed to connect with them on a heart level first,
yeah.
and like if we can see it together, if we can believe it,
Mm.
and that to me informs then story and allows like intention with writing. Because I think like yes, I'm always writing, and as a songwriter, I was writing during that hiatus, and it didn't necessarily know what I was writing for, but I just knew I wanted to write and I needed to
Yes.
write for like
Yeah.
my own survival, as a creative.
I did that too, actually. We were talking earlier, before we started recording about, you were saying, were you releasing stuff under your own name or part of a band? Like I did both.
Mhm.
I had moved to releasing stuff under my own name because I had something that felt so uniquely like me. And even after I stopped releasing songs under my own name, because I only released a few, but I still, I realized that I had more fun in this time where I was, podcasting or talking to other artists or being more behind the scenes in the music business. I still loved creating, and I got a producer, and I was like, we're just going to make an album knowing no one's ever going to hear it, because, and like, maybe they will, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say these songs can't be heard by anyone, but making it knowing that it's like completely void of anyone else's judgment. This is just like, I need to make songs for me. So I understand where you're in that headspace where you're like, you're writing songs and you're like, I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. I don't know where these are going to end up, but I need these for me, because you still have the love for it. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think just realizing that, you love something, still will produce like something to say. Like it will
totally
naturally bring things out of you, if you're engaging with that again.
Yeah. And when talking about the band's self-titled album, you said, I'm not really comfortable talking about it, but I'm a lot more comfortable singing about it. Does that quote ring true for any of the songs on this most recent album?
I always struggle. I still do to this day, on sharing, some of what I was going through writing the song, and how much I should share, because even over time, what you think you were writing about is actually different. When you look back on it, you're like, oh, I actually wasn't writing about that. I was writing about how overwhelmed I was feeling in life, and not about this person. Like, so that's why I'm reluctant sometimes to share too close. I also just want to allow like people their own experience, and without a bias, without a story already attached to it. That's always what's interesting, is like, even in the world of like Spotify, they want you to put like, write out like what the song's about, and then they submit that to their playlist editors, and then they read, and I get that. I get why they're just wanting some backstory, but I don't like to give it. I not unless it's like in a natural conversation, like even like this feels more natural to me than like, okay, I'm going to write a 3-sentence, description of what this song is. It's like that is so hard to frame a song in, in any type of description, because they're even with like our older work, like people's experience of them are so different, because everybody's experience in life is different, so their stories are different, attached to it. So they think, they hear it this way, they think it's about this or that, and it is for them.
I mean, some of those big hits are beautifully vague, I will say. Like, I think they do this really good job of, like, I recently, obviously in the lead up to this podcast, was looking at what some of those songs were about, and I was like, oh, I had a complete, like you said, completely different relationship with what I associated with those songs, and I think that's beautiful.
Well, I'll give you an example, and this is just in recent, like, I remember hearing like Billy Joel talk about some of his early work, and talking about it at this point in his life, and he's just like, I thought I was writing about this, and I can see that now what I was writing about was something different. And I've had some of that journey, and I think I'll probably still have that in 5, 10, 20 years from now. But I've had that journey with some of the first 2 albums, and then singing them again, as we've been touring the past couple of years, has brought out some of that story and the time in life that I was going through. And so, and we've talked about it in the past, right? Like certain times we've talked about like maybe some of the meaning, or fans have heard certain things about, say, what Look After You is about. And then I like realized that, like, oh, what I was writing about actually wasn't about the girl. Like, it was about my daughter. It was like, that's where my heart was. I was like, I was struggling with how to be in a band and raise a daughter and how to do that well. Everyone told me it was like impossible, but I loved her with all my heart. And I love all my, I have 4 girls now, and it's the best thing in the world. And they've been able to experience, this band and my journey. And I'm so grateful for that. But I just had this like realization on that song, that like I wasn't writing about romantic love,
Yeah.
and I think maybe Isaac was, but like I wasn't. And so that was what was, I think, beautiful about our chemistry, is that we wrote from different perspectives,
Yeah.
and what we were each going through was different naturally. And
So there
so
is no canonical like explanation for the lyrics.
right.
Even from Inception, which I think is beautiful.
Right. So like I remember like there was a trend on TikTok was about like talking to your younger self and like what like why it was important to write something.
Yeah.
And I remember like, okay, I'm just gonna like just like put this out there and go along with this trend. And I said something about like, look after you, and even a couple of the other songs where I'm just like realizing like the time of that place in life and what I was going through and what now those lyrics mean, and to me looking back on it now. And it was an interesting experience because, some people were like, no, that's not what it's about. It's about this. It's about this girl. And it's like, okay, well, you're not wrong. And at the same time, I wasn't like, I see what I was going through now,
Yeah.
more clearly. And where I was coming from was just very different.
Yeah. I mean, I actually want to touch on that a little bit, because the streaming numbers on your hits really highlight how culturally relevant these songs still are. How to Save a Life is approaching 2 billion streams, and remarkably, Look After You, which didn't even reach, I think, the top 50 of the Hot 100 at the time, has outpaced some of your signature hits in streams. Forgive me, because I'm not exactly clear. I don't have TikTok. You mentioned TikTok a bunch. I don't actually have TikTok.
Good for you. I need to do that.
Well, I remember making a game time decision when it was first blowing up, and I was like, I'm gonna do myself a favor. I'm never gonna download this. I think I had it specifically if someone sent me a video, I could open it, but I don't even think I've had it for a few years. But anyway, it's not exactly clear to me how Look After You went viral. I know it has something to do with Landon Barker, I think. Was that song getting a late in life boost kind of a shock to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't a single. We weren't, we didn't promote it as a single, on that first album cycle. And but yet it has taken on this like new life and new story. And yeah, and that connection with Landon ended up being such a natural, like, and now like friendship and collaborative friendship, where like we'll send each other music, and we'll hang whenever we're in the same city, and we end up talking about music and playing songs and like
The best kinds of
collaborating.
friendships. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it came from, it's just like he attached his story. He just liked the song and he just started singing it, on TikTok. So yeah, it is that naturally, like, that has been a huge shock, like where like what that song means to people, now. And so yeah, didn't see that coming.
Yeah, life has some weird plans sometimes. I mean, like I've made some of my best friends just through this podcast, interviewing people and then being like, "Hey,
Right.
actually, yeah, so it's funny, you don't see things coming, and it's nice to give that surge when you least expected it. How does that parallel kind of to the sync in Grey's Anatomy that set up the song How to Save a Life?
Also unexpected as far as, even the use of the song, because it wasn't pegged as a single, and nor did I expect it to be, a single. It was just it was an important song for us, and it was very emotional, writing it, and the story of where it, came from. And like I grew up in a house of just, mental health. My sister struggled her whole life, but growing up seeing her struggle was probably one of the harder things in my childhood, and seeing her hospitalized a bunch of times, and no one had answers. And so 5 years after I get out of the house, I had, a we had an experience with, just a kid that was struggling with his own mental health, and that brought me back to my childhood, and started wrestling with questions. Again, back to that like black and white thinking. It's like I just remember people saying to my sister, like, you should do this, or just all you need to do is that, blah, blah. And it's not that simple because we have so many layers to us and what she went through. And it's not just like a quick, easy fix. And so I didn't know the answer of how you could help someone, and that's what we ended up writing it about. Was just there is no answer. There's no clear, definitive like how you do help somebody, and part of me thinks like just being there, just like listening, just being in it with someone. But it came from that story and that experience, and then to then see art, come collaborate with other art as far as a different format on television, and then it fitting in that world, and then becoming a new and a different story.
And like a double entendre too, because I think it was also in Scrubs, so it was very much like how to literally save a life.
Right.
but also I'm sure there was like the that emotional double entendre as well in the song, or in the show.
For sure.
It is just funny how music supervisors for TV shows really can kind of nail that sometimes. I mean, I think of the Kate Bush song too, and how that really blew up over a sync.
Oh, totally. And I remember other bands that I looked up to were, licensing their songs to Grey's Anatomy, like, Snow Patrol. I saw they did one. And so it felt safe. It felt like, okay, there's legitimate artists doing this. Cause in that area, it was like was still in the like unknown if it was going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And I think for us, the fact that Over My Head was out for, a good year prior to the Grey's Anatomy thing happening just helped us find our legs as a band.
Yeah. You had some goodwill before that to stand on. That makes sense.
It just like it was just about, our core fans, and playing shows. And at that time, I'm like grateful for how that happened, because I think it would probably be different if it was the other way around.
Yeah. And jumping to the present, you're currently on tour with the band again. How did the Canadian dates go, and how does it feel performing this new material?
We hadn't been to Canada for 14 years. Apologies, Canadians, that it took us that long, but we did make it. And my goodness, like it's a dream. Like this is such a, like, I'm having the time of my life, like truly. Like this is so fun. Like getting on stage every night, being like the gift of seeing these songs that are like have story attached to it, and to feel the experience of the audience and their story. There's like truly nothing like that, like I in my life, where like there's this true exchange of story and energy, and all and happening in a space together. And I just love how music brings people together, like it, like you get to stand around and meet other people or see other people respond to it, and I see that, like how emotion impacts and influences other people. When you get into a space, for instance, right, and like you see someone else being emotional, or like expressing or screaming it out or dancing or whatever it is, it's like it gives you license to do that, and you're like, oh, that feels good. That seems like so that's what I'm loving to experience right now, is just like seeing how we all are experiencing this, together. But the shows were incredible. The US tour is starting up, in July. We're playing some of the like iconic venues across the country, and some of our favorite cities, summer nights, under the stars, like playing the whole body work. Dashboard Confessionals opening up. They're incredible. Chris Carrabba. Like I think, I hope people lose their voices in a good way, because people are just screaming out Dashboard songs, and I just hope they have enough juice for our show after. And But it's just like truly is a gift, and I'm having so much fun doing this.
I mean, I'll be screaming my heart out August 15th when y'all come to Boston.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to say hello there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and we're going back to some of these venues that we hadn't played for, 15 years. I mean, we're playing Jones Beach in New York. We played that in like 2009. So like just going back to these stages that we were like younger selves were, that our younger selves were. Now we find ourselves there again, with more to say and with all of it to say.
Well, I mean, I know that you've sung lead on songs from every album, but this is your first album singing lead on every song. Like, how has that adjustment been when it comes to touring specifically and performing the back catalog too?
Yeah, well, it just unfortunately it means I can't hang with my friends after the show.
Yes, yeah,
And that is heartbreaking.
yeah.
Because I just want to like kick it and like talk and catch up, and but it's just when you sing that much night after night, you truly have to rest your voice.
For a show, it's fine. For a tour, it sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you basically have to be antisocial.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I am learning sign language.
Wait,
And
genuinely though, because I love sign language.
do you? I should say this. I'm speaking slowly with my mouth, and I'm not speaking verbally, and
Yeah.
so people have to lip read. So
Yeah.
I'm asking a lot. I know that of people that are around and love me, to try to make sense of my communication style when I can't talk.
You're the
So,
lead singer now. You get to be a diva. That's just
yeah,
the
yeah, exactly.
perks.
Right.
Yeah, and then finally let's talk about this album cover, right? It's gorgeous. Like, were you there when it was being set up? That's a photo, right?
It's a photo.
Yeah. Was it meticulous to set up those mirrors and the lighting rigs just to get like the photo exactly right?
Yeah, well, so our friend Nathan Johnson, he did the artwork for our first two albums, the
Oh, no
Broken Light
way.
Bulb.
Yeah.
He's a friend from Denver. He's an incredible musician, artist. Like,
I love that second album cover where y'all are walking past the Fray sign. Oof, love
oh,
that.
well, thank you. Yeah, and we were just kicking around the ideas and what the album was about with him. And we were just basically telling him like, how we're seeing ourselves more clearly now, and other people's reflection
Yeah.
for us has helped us. Like our fans, for instance. I remember like
Mm.
playing early shows when we were rebooting, like evolving. I remember just like the way they saw us changed the way we saw ourselves, because I was worried that they were not going to like it or be
Yeah.
confused or
Hmm.
walk out, and they were just in it and experiencing it. And so it taught us about ourselves more. So, I was just sharing him some of the themes of the album, and he's like, "Oh, that's interesting." So, light, um, from within and light from others, help us see ourselves and help us see color. And he's like, "Okay, got it. I'm gonna try this thing." And so he just like said, "I'm gonna go into this dark room. We're gonna play with light, and we're gonna play with mirrors, because of this like reflection idea, and how it takes different shapes,
Mm.
so yeah, he's just a mad genius. Went in, captured it, and he sent us a couple like images after that, and we're just like, this is so beautiful.
That's
Like,
awesome. That's
in the
awesome.
world of AI that we live in, it's like this is such a beautiful natural light that was captured.
Yeah. So I have a game for you as well that we're gonna go out on. It's
Let's go.
called Song Superlatives. So just like high school yearbooks where the graduating class votes for their peers for a number of different categories like best dressed or most likely to become president, I want to give you a chance to give your songs on the new album their own superlatives. But unlike high school, you can give multiple superlatives to a song.
Okay.
So these are songs from the new album. The first one is Most Changed. So this is a song that since its inception, it has adapted and changed the most to the final product.
Let me go first. It started out as basically a guitar riff, that was more like major oriented, and it worked well because of the contrast of the lyric. The lyrics, is darker. It's about the loss of my mom, and when I brought it into the band, um, I was thinking we'd continue down that road of like, okay, this like contrast of like kind of happy feeling music, uplifting music with like a darker lyric, and I liked that contrast.
Hmm.
Then what's great about it in a band is like you start playing with different ways of playing it, and we just started jamming, and it became what it is, and it changed completely except for the melody and the lyric, but musically it like took on a whole new landscape. So that song changed the most.
No, I'm sorry for your loss, but beautiful answer.
Thanks.
The next one is the cutest couple that never was. So this is a song of yours that you wanted to be a collaboration, or a song that if you had your chance to make your absolute dream collab, like what song would you choose and who would you choose to be on it?
Oh, oh, I mean, you mentioned, Casey Musgraves. I was hoping Tasted Glory, the song, Tasted Glory would be potentially do a duet.
Oh,
Um,
that would eat. That would eat. Seriously. No, because we had another category called best performer. So that's like the best like vocal performance. If I had to pick one, I would say Taste the Glory. Like I think that was, you did such a good job on that song. Like just the way that it was sung just has a lot of grit to the vocals.
wow, that was the just original like demo take. Right,
Sometimes
right
that's the
when
best. Yeah.
right when it was written, and I
Wow.
tried to re-sing it, and it just did not work. And that take is not, perfect by any means. It just has like that. There's a thing to it. There's like an emotion in it, but it feels so good to play live too. Like I love playing that song, and it holds up to the rest of our catalog. And that's a
Hmm.
big test. Is like
Yeah.
when you go from like Look After You to Taste the Glory, like how does it die? Because
Yeah.
you'll
Will the
know
energy
if
drop or will people,
right.
yeah.
And it's like this song is like, no, I'm holding on here, guys. I'm staying up. I'm staying. I'm keeping pace with everybody. It's just
Yeah.
this little baby. But it wants to hang with the big boys.
Okay, so Casey Musgraves, if you're listening,
I mean, just in general, we love Casey. We could do something new, or we could do Taste of Glory.
the next one is best storyteller. So this is the song that you think most efficiently tells the story that you were trying to tell.
Sea Level Drive. It's the last song on the
Mm.
album. I was with some friends on the West Coast, just hanging out on like near beach and just near sunset, and we watched these cormorants come in from their day, and they were like landing on this gorgeous tree on a bluff top, and I was just enamored by these birds, and then they get on these branches at the end of the day, and they just open up their wings, and they let the sun dry their wings out, and I just started thinking about like, wow, what was their day like? Like these birds are diving into the cold Pacific, that swimming down to the seafloor and looking for food, and talk about a challenging day. They're coming back from those waters, and their healing is like, okay, nesting with their crew, with their fam on this tree and spreading their wings. And so I just was inspired by this bird, and wanted to write from that perspective of just like doing it again, and day after day, having to get up and do it again, and put yourself out there and dry your wings and do it again. And like I just related to their day, and so I think it tells the story. I do love playing that song live too. So yeah, I would say Sea Level Drive.
I think that's a great answer. The last one we have is most unique. So the song that you think out of every song on the album stands out the most in any sort of way.
I probably have to go back to Let Me Go First. I think musically, we haven't captured that feel as a band. And I'm proud of how we did that we listened to each other. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really so much of writing and being in a band is listening. We took this song and listened to how each other were playing, and it inspired each of us, and then it took on this new life. And I think what it resulted in was this like practice of listening and exploring. It is truly unlike any Fray song musically. So I'm proud of that one.
Similarly gut-wrenching, though. It definitely does resonate in the same way, which is always a plus. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This was absolutely awesome. I had such a good time, and I'll see you in August.
Likewise, AJ.
Yeah.
Get the band back together.
I'm trying.
So y'all can come on tour.
I'm trying. Yes, that's so funny. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for joining me, and thank you to Noah for the theme music. This podcast and all of us at Popheads are in support of the fight for trans rights. You can check the links in the episode description if you're interested in donating or learning more. Bye, y'all.